How do I think of these things? With such hits as Heart of Glass, Call Me, The Tide is High, and Rapture. The band Blondie emerged from the New York club scene. Actually, it might be a better record, who knows, to become one of the most popular bands in all of rock. And the focus of much of Blondie's attention has been lead singer Debbie Harry, as you undoubtedly know, who's just recently released her first solo album called Koo Koo. And as part of our Celebrity Byline series, we asked Kal Rudman, it is, publisher of the Friday Morning Quarterback, the music industry's leading programming guide, and a friend of Debbie's, to profile her, as they say in the trade, for us. So here she is.
You may recognize the woman behind the dark glasses. Her face has graced the covers of more magazines than any other female artist in the history of rock and roll. The members of the band Blondie, including Debbie Harry and Chris Stein, have been responsible for the sale of over 15 million records worldwide, 5 hit albums in a row, 4 #1 singles in this country alone. Now she has embarked on her first solo project, an album called Koo Koo. We caught up with Debbie at the Power Station, a recording studio in New York City, where she recorded the album. And a little later, she will perform the new single.
Haven't seen you in a while, Debbie. You and Chris have been to the wrestling matches at Madison Square Garden, and you haven't been around.
No, I missed all the good stuff, too. I was away.
Yeah.
We were working.
Recording the solo album with Chic?
That partially, and we were in Switzerland working with H.R. Giger, doing some promo tapes for the album.
Now Rogers and Bernie Edwards of Chic, the producers of your album, have wanted to be rock musicians for a long time. And you had a big hit with Rapture, which was rhythm and blues oriented. So you were heading in their direction, they were heading in yours. So how did you two get together, Debbie?
Well, we met in Ireland Bernard right here at the Power Station a couple years ago when we were recording E to the Beat with Mike Chapman. And so we got along very well, and they've been, really good friends. We've just sort of hung out with them over the past couple of years and talked about all these different influences in our music. And when we started talking about our musical ideas and possibly working together and collaborating, it really became obvious that, since Chris and I were so heavily affected by all of the sort of city music that we've been hearing and all the, R&B and funk that we really liked, and we're trying to bring that into rock in our way, and they were trying to put rock into their music, it was very obvious that we should collaborate.
Debbie, as you know, I'm from the streets of the North Philadelphia ghetto, and you, of course, are a street lizard from New York. Your lyrics in this album are absolutely tuned into the street vernacular. How did that work into your lyrics in this album?
Well, it first happened because I was evicted. No. It just, we're interested in that, and we're part of city life, and we have a lot of friends that, are doing, like, the graffiti art that we used on a couple of our videotapes in the past. And I think that being out of Blondie and working as a lyricist, Blondie has a real sort of mission in life, And so when I started writing lyrics that weren't for Blondie, in a way I felt I could be sort of more serious.
How do you feel about doing a solo thing after being with a band for so many years?
Well, I really don't feel like it's a solo project. I feel like it's more like a collaboration. And, of course, I'm working with Chris. We were writing our songs together. And Niall and Bernard are writing their songs together and then producing the whole mishmash.
You have a new direction in your music, and certainly a fascinating new direction in this album cover. How did that all come about? You mentioned Giger before, Hans Giger.
Yeah, well, we met him here in New York, too, on 57th Street at a gallery show when he was touring with his Academy Award for Alien, and he's a very, very nice guy. And
yeah, he has a display in the Museum of Modern Art also.
Yeah.
The entire world of rock was somewhat amused to find out that this cover was banned in England. And the world of music and radio in the United States, we lost our minds when we heard about this. They can't sell it in the stores. Would you tell us about that?
Oh, no, they can sell it in the stores.
Can
They can't have any posters or ads in the trains or the train stations. And they're not allowed to show the cover on television. And I think it's because it's such a change in approach or change in image for me. And they said that it was too disturbing. That was it. It was too disturbing. But I can understand it because we have Blondie has a following of a lot of like 8-year-olds, you know, little kids. So they thought that that would be too disturbing for them.
Well, it's certainly a new direction for you.
Yeah. Well, it's fantasy. It's clearly fantasy for me. I mean, I think that anyone who looks at it knows that it's sci-fi and fantasy, and with H.R. Giger's name on it, and what else could it be?
I have a question that's very serious to me. What I'm leading up to is the drug problem of youth in the United States. I yield to no person in my respect for your credibility in being in touch with the streets. You've been there and back, and I think a lot of the people in the audience will respect the words that you have to say, and it's a big problem in the United States with a whole generation.
The thing that prompts kids to take drugs, I think, from my experience, is that you're searching and exploring and you're trying to, you know, find out about everything and be aware of your environment and be cool and at the same time, and et cetera. And it's basically, I think kids are victimized by it because it's big business. And it's also...
They market it.
Yeah, it's marketed, and it's very political in some ways, the way that it's marketed. Because the people that are the weakest and the most susceptible and the most unhappy are the ones that are going to get it. I think that if everyone had sort of, I don't know if it's religion is the right word, but if they had sort of like a ritualistic kind of attitude and development of sort of mental activity, you know, that would give them a high.
Get high in yourself.
Yeah, you know, I think that that's the greatest high. I mean, the only times that I feel really, really good are when I've accomplished something and like, it's really hard for kids to feel like that because all that they're just like sort of trapped in this little, you know, school thing, and, you know, it's very difficult to really feel satisfied with yourself.
Your fans are very curious about your future plans. I know you've been involved in a book of photography and a Canadian film called Rats that's animated.
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't actually do the film. We've done the musical sort of section for a couple of the characters.
Debbie, we're old friends, and I really don't mean to embarrass you on network television, but I'm merely hashing over obvious facts when I point out that the bone structure of your face, maybe you will find one woman in 10 million with that kind of bone structure. It's certainly a face that should be on the silver screen or should be seen on Broadway. What are your hopes, your dreams, your fantasies about a future as a film and or stage actress?
Well, what I think from working as a rock singer and as a performing artist, you know, on stage, and trying to understand the film business, film industry, in the past couple of years, I've gotten a really big education about it. And primarily, I think that you have to just look for the right vehicle, the right film for yourself, or the right show, or the right script, or whatever it is, the right story, and then really, you know, follow it through. It's a much different process than what it's been for me as a singer.
I know you're here at the power station to work on the vocal of your new single with Chic, and it's The Jam Is Moving, and it's going to go up there where the air is rare, and
I hope so.
be a chart buster, and the album is doing extremely well.
To stop a following investigation. Find out what's the hidden power lying in the groove that drives them crazy all across the nation. That time the jam was moving. Go ahead now, go ahead now. It makes the people keep moving. Go ahead now, go ahead now. The agent you were sanctioned to investigate. When he came home, he found to his amazement, he saw his own children alive on cold 45, and they were rocky popping in the basement. That time the jam was moving. Go ahead now, go ahead now. That makes the people keep moving. Go ahead now. Hidden power lying in the group is going crazy, crazy all across the nation. Agent said down the jam was moving. Go ahead now, go ahead now. You make the people keep grooving. Go ahead now, go ahead now. Ding down the room, oh, oh. Make the people eat and groove it. Go ahead now. Down the shoes was moving. Go ahead now. Go ahead now. Make the people